What's up, everyone? I know it's been a while. This is actually my second video of the year and technically the last video of the year too. I took an unofficial hiatus, but I still wanted to do my annual top 10 movies of the year. As usual, disclaimer, I haven't seen every single movie that came out this year. There were a couple that I really wanted to try and catch before I made this video, but I just didn't have enough time. Like, if I went to go see these movies, I probably would have been rushing to try and get this out before the end of the year. So I'm just gonna exclude them now, and they may appear in a future video. So if you don't see a certain movie on this list, it's either because I have not seen it myself, or maybe I just didn't love it as much as you, which is fine. This is my personal list. So, as I usually do, before I get into the top 10, here are some of my honorable mentions. Megan, Knock at the Cabin, Air, Flamin' Hot, Barbie, Gran Turismo, Leo. All right, without further ado, let's get into the top 10. Number 10, Rye Lane. This is probably my favorite rom-com of the year. It was very heartwarming. The characters are very endearing. I was really invested in the story, the backstory of these characters. It's very character-driven, which I think really works. I also like how they use the stage to kind of show flashbacks or give context to what's going on with some of these characters. It's honestly just a really good time. If you're looking for something that's a chill movie that just lets you escape, I think this is the one for you. Number 9, John Wick Chapter 4. This movie is an action masterpiece. I mean, all the John Wick movies are, but this one really takes it to another level again, because even John Wick 3 did that. But this one is so well done. The action choreography is on point. The cinematography is on point. Keanu Reeves again kills it in the role of John Wick. They also added a lot of great new characters like Donnie Yen's Kane, Tracker, aka Mr. Nobody, which is kind of confusing because in the credits they call him Tracker, but I'm pretty sure in the movie he was usually referring to himself as Nobody or Mr. Nobody, something like that. But he was a great addition too, and I think he might be getting a spinoff. It was also a great send-off for the character of John Wick. I'm not going to spoil it if you still haven't seen it, but it is sort of a conclusion to this long arc of him trying to clear his name and move on from this assassin life. If you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely one of the best action movies of the year, hands down. Number 8, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse already set the bar very high for this franchise, and Across the Spider-Verse raised it again. The animation is on point. I love the new additions. I thought this movie gave great character arcs to both Gwen and Miles. I thought the conflict with Miguel O'Hara was really well done. His argument made a lot of sense, but as you watch it more times, I think you start to see some of the holes in it. But that's another thing about this movie is it's very rewatchable. And I know it is part 1 of 2, but I think there is still an element of completion to it, especially when it comes to the story about the Spot. His journey of being sort of like a jokey villain to like an actual threat by the end of the movie, I thought was really well done. I'm excited for Beyond the Spider-Verse, but I do hope that they actually give the animators 1, more pay, and 2, more time to actually take their time and do everything that they want to without being super stressed and overworked. Number 7, Past Lives. This is another romance movie on my list. This one's more the dramatic side. I really was invested in this story. It honestly felt like I was watching a story of 2 real people reconnecting after not seeing each other for decades. I was honestly grinning from ear to ear, especially as they showed the beginnings of their relationship and how they were talking to each other as kids, and then when they reconnected as adults. But it's also very relatable because everybody has that one person that they kind of fell out with, whether it was a friendship or an actual relationship. And some of those things do weigh down on you, and I feel like this movie really captured that. Number 6, Talk to Me. This was definitely one of the biggest surprises of the year so far. First-time directors, the Philippou brothers, absolutely knocked it out of the park, and it's actually super inspiring to see YouTubers go and make this as their first movie. Talk to Me is a thrill ride from start to finish. The jump scares are minimal, but the ones that are there really get me. I was really invested in the characters, especially Mia. It goes in a direction that I did not actually expect, and it really puts these characters through the ringers, especially the younger characters. I like that they prioritized creating a creepy atmosphere over just a lot of jump scares. This movie keeps you tense the whole time, and you really don't know where it's gonna go next. I love the setup at the end, and I am extremely excited for the sequel, which is Talk Number 2, Me. Number 5, How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I think this one might be one of the most underrated movies of the year. Like, I saw some critical acclaim for it, but when I go to like film Twitter or I talk to my friends, it seems like nobody else has seen this movie, which is crazy because it's one of the craziest thrillers of the year. Like the title says, you're following this group of young adults as they try to blow up a pipeline. So along the way, there are a lot of hiccups, a lot of twists and turns. I also really enjoyed the non-linear storytelling where it shows what's happening in present time as they're doing this mission, but it also goes back and shows you where each of them came from, what their motivations are. I also think the message is very relevant and very impactful when it comes to climate change and the environment. I would say I like this one more than Don't Look Up a couple years ago. While that one I think was more over the top and comedic, I think this one was more grounded, and to me, I felt more invested with these characters. Number 4, Oppenheimer. Of course, this is not a top 10 of 2023 without mentioning Barbenheimer. Barbie was in my honorable mentions, of course, but I would say the stronger movie of the duo was Oppenheimer. It's a 3-hour movie, but I was invested the whole time. Cillian Murphy gives an absolutely amazing performance, and it's amazing to see him go from more of a supporting character in other Nolan movies to now being a lead, playing this historical figure. I think he absolutely killed it. Some other strong performances were Emily Blunt as his wife Kitty. Jason Clarke was also great as this guy interrogating Oppenheimer regarding his potential involvement with the Communist Party. And Robert Downey Jr. gives one of his best performances as Louis Strauss. And of course, since this is a Christopher Nolan movie, from a technical aspect, this movie is amazing. He used no CGI, it's all visual effects. So when you see those little flares and stuff and sparks going across screen, all of that is done in camera, which I thought was amazing. This was easily one of the best movies of the year, and it truly felt like a cinematic experience, especially seeing it in IMAX. Number 3, The Holdovers. I thought this was a very refreshing Christmas movie, and it's sort of relatable too, because I was kind of in that position at one point. When I was in college, I was one time at school for Christmas because my family was out of town at the time. So I really related to these characters. The performances were amazing. Paul Giamatti is amazing. For a first-time performance, Dominic Sessa absolutely killed it. Divine Joy Randolph was also amazing in her supporting role. I do hope she gets some buzz for Best Supporting Actress in the Oscars. I thought she was amazing, and I think she definitely was one of the most emotionally resonating characters dealing with grief over the holidays. That's something I can definitely relate to, and I think she did amazing. This movie is funny, it's heartwarming, and I think it just gives you all the fuzzy feelings you expect on a Christmas movie, but it also takes you to some real emotional places. And I think it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it already. Number 2, Godzilla Minus One. So, fun fact, this was actually my first Japanese Godzilla movie that I've ever watched, and I got to see it on the big screen. It was amazing. I'm still thinking about this movie. Personally, this is the scariest I've seen Godzilla look on screen. Like, from the very first scene that he appears, he is a threat. He is there to wreck stuff. This is not the Godzilla that we've seen in more recent movies like Godzilla vs. Kong or Godzilla, King of the Monsters, where he's sort of a hero. This one, he's just wrecking Japan. The emotional parts of the movie also really hit. This movie takes place right after World War II, so Japan is already reeling from all the losses in that. And now this giant monster comes along, causing more destruction. I was especially invested in the relationship between Noriko and Koichi, who create this found family with this little girl who doesn't belong to either of them, but they come together after this war and live together, and they bring other people in. I was really invested in them, and I was really hoping that both these two made it back home to take care of this little girl who is basically their daughter, even if one of them tries to deny it. Also, I have to give a big shout out to the visual effects. I love the look of Godzilla. He actually looks scary in this movie, looks like a creature from the sea. And I love the mechanics of how it works. Like when he's about to charge up his beam, you see his scales popping out one by one, so you really build the tension. Little details like that are really amazing. And I think the movie just has a lot of great emotional moments and action. At the time of me recording this, I think it's still in theaters because they actually extended its run because it was so successful. So if you can, please go out and see it in a theater. It is definitely worth your time. And number 1, Poor Things. Again, another recent movie that made it to the top of my list. I had so much fun with this movie. It is insane in the best way. Emma Stone gives one of her best performances ever. Everyone honestly is on top of their game. Willem Dafoe, Rami Youssef, Mark Ruffalo is really great too. This is a really over-the-top movie with a lot of science fiction, a lot of drama, romance, comedy. It's got a little bit of everything. And my eyes are just glued to the screen the entire time. I love the story of this adult woman who's basically reincarnated, brought back to life, and she's relearning how things work in the world. I love the look of this movie, the way it's shot, the set design, the costume, the music. It's just all around good time. I couldn't stop thinking about this movie as I walked out of the theater. I had so much fun with it, and I do look forward to watching it again in the future. It is easily my number 1 movie of 2023. So that's it. Those are my favorite movies of 2023. There are a lot I didn't mention here just because I didn't want this video to be like an hour long. So I am probably going to do another video where I just talk about other movies that I enjoyed from the year, because this was a good year. Even though there was this huge gap sort of in the middle because of the strikes, I still had a great time this year. If you want to check out more of my videos, you can click this one that YouTube suggested for you right here. And if not, I will see you in the next one.